Welcome to Complicated Opportunities, a Cosmere RPG podcast with a couple of GMs. And this week, we're going to be tackling a new topic, which is what is the Cosmere RPG? So, Irving, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah. So, what is the CosmereRPG? Obviously, if you're here, you probably have some idea, but just in case, it is a tabletop role playing game with a built in setting based on the works of Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere. The game works on a d20 based system, like a lot of other familiar role playing games I'm sure you're familiar with, except it has a little bit of spice in something called the plot die. Uh, Instead of picking a singular class or archetype, you have a a la carte character build through talent trees that are pretty neat. Uh, yeah, Kyle, what do you think about it?
I mean, so far, I've been really impressed with it. It's definitely, it feels familiar enough that I can jump right in. As I mentioned in our last episode, playing about 10 years, but I hadn't GM before. But as a player, when I tried it out, I was able to just pop right in, knew what the skill tests were, was familiar with how combat and talents. Um, but yeah, so I've been pretty impressed so far. Uh,
Yeah,
so, oh, go ahead.
I think that's a very important part about the system is that it is very familiar. You know, you have things that are just sort of gameplay genre staples in skill tests, and the abilities that you have are very familiar feeling. Uh, I think that it was the right move to when constructing a game whole cloth, kind of like they did, to keep very familiar systems in the D20 and the standard skill and attribute model. Uh, I think they definitely innovated where they should have, though, with like the a la carte talent build system, and then also the plot die, which is super cool.
Yeah, and we'll get to it in and we can go ahead and get to it here. And honestly, my favorite change outside of the plot die, which we'll definitely get into a lot more later, is the initiative system. I actually hate rolling for initiative. It drives me crazy because then you're just stuck in that same round of turns, and I find it can get boring.
I think
So
that's a hot take.
I
I think a
mean,
lot of people like standard initiative.
really, see, I
Oh
guess it's
yeah, it's. I
like
mean, that role initiative is like a popular thing. Like that's a big deal.
yeah, I do. I guess it's one of those because I haven't played uh played D&D forever. Like that's not the system that I played the most. I actually played the Star Wars D20 system, which did have the same initiative system because it was very similar. But yeah, I guess the freedom that the initiative system gives has just been a really fun addition for me.
Yeah,
Um,
and we should probably mention what it is.
yeah,
Basically, in this initiative system, you take fast and slow turns, and that determines the amount of like action points you can spend on what you do on your turn. And very logically, fast turns are before slow turns, and then hero turns or player characters go before NPCs or non-player characters. Uh, that is a super fun thing to bring up, though.
yeah, and it definitely plays into a lot of in any all the different times that I've played, it just adds a fun little bit of strategy that's not there when you're locked into initiative. Um,
Yeah,
so
I think it's a shifting of the strategy curve is how I
yeah,
would kind of label it. Because there's like, and I'm not going to trash a D20 system. I love the old school, roll for initiative stuff. But I have enjoyed getting to play around with this, like pick your initiative and you get a certain number of actions depending on it.
yep.
Uh, Now, Kyle, where can you buy the Cosmere RPG?
So right now, if you go to brotherwisegames.com, it will actually give you the different links to all of the different places you can buy it. So if you want to test it out without necessarily jumping in to buy it right away, if you go to Demiplane, the starter rules are available. And when you go to Brotherwise Games, and I'll actually do that on my computer right now, just so I can walk through with everybody. Um,
Yeah, I find it a lot easier to walk through it if I'm doing it. I get it.
For sure. So you can, when you click on order today, which is where it says it's available, it'll actually take you to a portal that has a little bit of everything. So it has the Cosmere Nexus through Demiplane, and then a link to Drive Through RPG to get the PDFs. It also has integration into Roll20, Fantasy Grounds, and Foundry Virtual Tabletop. Personally, I've actually got it on Roll20 and on Foundry. And then I love the Demiplane Nexus. But on the Demiplane Nexus, there are a set of starter rules that are free. And it gives you a very good overview of the game, has some pre-generated characters, and really walks through all of the different mechanics. And so all of that is available online right now. And then the physical items will start releasing to retailers online and physical on October 29th.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. Is like I hear a lot of online options, but for those of us that really can't read on a computer screen and like to have something physical, so it's the 29th when it'll be available for if you didn't back the Kickstarter,
Yep,
which I think most of you might have, but yeah.
absolutely. All right. So I'll go. Well, now let's go ahead and just kind of talk about like what we like about it,
Yeah.
and why we became obviously we liked the system enough that we were like, hey, let's start a podcast about it. So
Yeah, this is not a paid or sponsored podcast. We decided to do this together. Uh, if people want to pay us, please, but we're not paid currently.
yeah, we are not afraid. We are not above being shills.
Uh,
So like some of the stuff that I like about, I love that there's an underlying system. And it's out there. Johnny O'Neill, one of the owners of Brotherwise, has talked about it. The system that it's built on is called Plot Weaver, which Brotherwise is actually planning on releasing in 2026 anyway. Um, but that's where the underlying rules are, and you can kind of feel that they're starting to set the groundwork where all of the different worlds, and they've talked about some of the worlds that are coming. The Stormlight's campaign setting, which is what they're calling these now, is campaign settings, is what's out right now, is the Stormlight system. And then Mistborn's coming next year. They haven't officially announced which one is next, but they have floated out there that they're talking about World Hopper, which is supposed to be like a lot of the little worlds all in adventure.
yeah. Early on in the Kickstarter, there was something that had an Elantrian and something that had an Althean.
Yeah,
What was
and they
that?
mentioned both of those worlds. I was
Okay,
at Nexus last year, and they brought up like, "Hey, which one do you want to see?" And they judged by crowd reaction whether Warbreaker, Elantris, or World Hopper. Surprisingly, Warbreaker has won like every time. Uh,
perfect. That's right.
it's correct. I agree. It is absolutely the correct answer. Is I want like Awakening. Give me Awakening, please.
Oh, I can only imagine how cool Awakening will be.
I mean, like, because
Uh,
we almost got a tease of it with the way the Stone Ward class works, and oh yeah,
oh, I guess
I
you're right. Yeah, because Tension is a
mhm.
similar, yeah, to Awakening. We're using a lot of Cosmere aware terms here, folks. So apologies for that. Uh,
Yep.
I think the big thing to say is like, while we're tossing around a lot of jargon and terms about these books, the game itself, you don't have to be a big Cosmere fan. I think it can deepen your experience, but the game has a pretty low barrier to entry. It's a very friendly system. You can get a character rolling and started and play the starter adventures basically right away. Uh, I think the biggest thing that is new to like familiar RPG players, again, calling back that plot die, and the plot die is a special D6 that has two complication symbols that also have numbers associated. It has two blanks and two opportunities. You can see maybe where we got the podcast name from. Uh, and so basically, that can be used to heighten the drama. The idea is that if you roll a plot die, you're raising the stakes. And anytime you get a complication, you're also increasing the result of your D20 test. So you're more likely to succeed with a complication, and so you'll fail forward in a way, or you'll succeed with a slight drawback. Uh, the blanks are just that, they're blanks. I'm not the biggest fan of them. You'll probably hear me rail against them at some point. And then the opportunities are sort of like beneficial little riders you can add on. You know, in combat, you can use that to effectively what in other games is called a crit, or you can sort of influence the narrative or get some other benefit to your character. Uh, but that's, I mean, that's the overview of the plot die. It took me 30 seconds here to talk about it, maybe a minute. It's a very unique thing, but once you start rolling with it, it's fun. It'll be no issue at all.
And what I'll say as someone who was new to DMing or GMing when I started running this is I was a little, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little intimidated by it at first. But the cool thing is Brotherwise did a great job when they were building the rule sets and the adventure books of giving you options and giving you examples. So there's definitely some guidance. You can use it as much or as little as you want. Um, like I think Brotherwise at one point had said they intended it to be used about a third of the time, but they found that people are using it almost the time that they're using roles. They did do a good job of like setting the examples out there, peppering them through the rule set so that way you have a good feel for how to use it. And the cool thing is there's even some just easy ones like Irving mentioned, when you roll and gain an opportunity on attack, you can crit, you can gain a focus, lose a focus, which some of those are, we'll get more into the ins and outs of the rules, but there's definitely like easy options that you can always fall back on. So
Yeah.
now what I will say is like if you're a big Cosmere fan, this is the system for you. Like I'm a
Oh,
huge Cosmere
absolutely.
fan.
They did such a good job with the setting, incorporating it to the gameplay. I'm actually very curious for Plot Weaver, which is the sort of setting agnostic version, to see how that goes. But the system feels really important to the game, but in a way that's approachable if you're not the biggest like nerd for Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah, the cool thing there too is like as we've mentioned that it feels familiar. I said I GM'd for Brotherwise at Gen Con this year, and like one of the ways I explain the system to people is like it doesn't feel quite as crunchy as some systems, but it has a lot of the narrative elements that other try to bring in. Like I feel like it gives you a good balance. But for example, in the playgroup that Irving and I always play in, like we have a member of our playgroup who still to this day has never read a Cosmere book, but we've been playing weekly since like February.
Yeah, yeah, he just likes to have a sword and hit people with it for sure.
And he's familiar enough with TTRPGs that he doesn't like he obviously misses some of the references we make and some of the things that happens, but he's still having a blast. Like when we have weeks where we might not play, he's the first one that's like, I miss everybody.
That's
So
true. True. I love Carter's so fun to play with. I think well, it's not doxing him to say his name, right?
no, he won't care.
There you go.
Odds are he'll probably pop up on an episode at some point.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
So
Uh,
really the
yeah,
last point that I want to make about why to play this game, not gonna lie, Brotherwise kind of rocks. Like, and
they
as we've
do
said,
such a good job of feeling just like game fans making a game. I
yes,
I've been very burnt out on the Seattle company and their corporate like bull for a long time, and Brotherwise definitely feels like it's a small business making a quality game, and they just do that good. I don't know if it's community outreach or if it's like just
they're just
they put in the
they're out.
work.
They put in the work. They're out in front. Like they're constantly posting. Like even today, for example, like I don't mean to date our podcast, but like they released a video that's just like, hey, if you're getting ready to run Stonewalkers, the adventure. Like here
I haven't seen
is
that video yet. I haven't watched
yeah,
it. I'm a
yes,
fake fan.
yeah, but like, and it's not even like a spoiler thing. It's just they put videos out all the time that are like, "Hey, here's some tips for running the game. Here are some ways to jump in. Like, here's a guide to run the first chapter so we can help you get a head start." Like, they want people engaging in the game and playing in the game and talking about it. They're very active on Discord and on social media. But honestly, like Johnny and his team did a really good job of hiring a group that has like a diverse background, not just like diversity as we traditionally think of it, but like people that have been all over the place. Like I've seen the lead designer came from the Fantasy Flight Star Wars games, and
I
then
was so excited when I found out someone that worked on the FFG Star Wars RPG. And I know
Yeah,
that's a lot of acronym. Like, I was hyped because that system is cool, and you can see what he brought over of it for sure.
absolutely. And then you've got other people that are like kind of like the rules gurus and other people that are narrative gurus. Like you've got a big group of creative people that just seem to be genuinely excited about the system, even down to the art direction. Like Katie Payne rocked the Stormlight art direction. Yeah,
Oh
and
yeah,
she
the
was
art is cool.
and like she's got a great story because she was literally just a Cosmere fan artist that brought Brandon artwork at a signing, and then 5 to 10 years later is art directing the RPG. Like so, the fans of the books of the setting are the ones that are making the game too.
Yeah, and
Um,
I think that's so important because you get people that really care about it. It's not someone who's like, "Hey, how do I make this number go up for a stock investor?"
exactly.
Yeah.
Um, and they do a great job too of like engaging new and experienced players. Because like we're a perfect example. Like Irving's been playing TTRPGs longer than I have and been a player and a GM a lot. And I was brand new to it. And both of us are like very like I'm actually getting to the point where I'm confident about running this game. Like in running it in front of people. Like if you would have told me in January I was going to run it in July at a convention, I would have told you were crazy.
Oh no, when you told me you were running at a convention, I thought you were crazy. I was like, "Dude, that
Yeah.
is way too soon."
Oh, I
But
had
you
an
had a
absolute
great time.
yeah, I had an absolute blast, and now like
Yeah.
we're both going to be running it at Nexus this year.
Are we
So
allowed to say that?
we're good. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, if someone
But
tells us to cut it out, you'll see an edited version of this, so you better watch it twice. That's what
yeah,
I'm
but I
telling
mean, hey,
you.
like the hey, all those go on sale tomorrow anyway. So
I
uh,
guess that's fair. Yeah.
yeah, that's they'll know that there's people GMing it. But like we're both going to be running it at Nexus. So like clearly we're excited about it.
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean that's really the main points I have. Is there anything else you wanted to Irving?
I think you brought up the Discord and how they're responsive, and that's
Mhm.
another important thing of like, hey, where can you play this game? Because not everyone is going to have a group that they can get to play it, and online spaces are probably the most common thing. There's a thriving Discord of people talking daily. I hate talking on Discord, so I mute it, but I know I always see the little blip there that teases me like, hey, people are talking.
Well, and
Uh,
the cool thing is it has a looking for group option on there. Like where you like there's just as I'm looking at it right now, like I don't want to date it, these not be available, but like there's one person who has listed looking for 3 to 4 players in the Eastern time zone. Here I'm looking for someone for a one shot on this date. Like there's people that will be posting out there looking to run games on.
oh,
Um,
yeah. Looking at the member count, there's 3,000 people in this
yeah,
Discord that aren't mods or RPG team people.
yep.
That's crazy.
And the cool thing is, like, there's already a community popping up about this. Like, the group that we're affiliated with, Shard of Opportunity, has been running action plays literally since the launch of the RPG. Um, one of the Patreons we've both interacted with, Cosmere Conversation, like they had one of their co-hosts, Tyler, has a website where you can sign up to run games with him. Um,
I
like so,
didn't
there's
know that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's actually got, I think it's tylershotwell.com. So
Well, shameless plug for our friend here.
absolutely. But like, so there's already places online where you can find ways to, and all of us are willing to interact. So yeah, and I'm sure at some point, God, it's weird to say, we'll probably have our own Discord to,
Oh
to
no, that's scary. Don't say that again.
I know, right?
I don't
I
like
got to
that
think out
idea.
the universe. So
We'll just change your Discord into the
there we
one.
go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, you know me. I'll jump feet
We're
first.
probably not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, yeah. I think if you're afraid that you don't really have the community going to play this game, just talk to people and like try to make that like venture online. I know it can be scary, but you'll find someone like I didn't know Kyle until I started running this game, and I've
Yeah,
made a probably lifelong friend. I started a podcast with the guy. I'm really
yeah,
liking it.
exactly.
Uh, so like I really recommend that to anyone. It's a very fun experience, and you just got to find a group that kind of melds with you, and you'll have a good time.
So we definitely want like definitely get out there, try to find different people to engage with. Like we're some of the stuff we're going to talk about soon, like we'll start diving more into the rule, getting a little more depth. Um,
Yeah, we have in-depth rule conversations coming up and like talking about character builds and talking about, hey, what do you do in this situation as a GM? I think this game, like, it's very friendly, but there's definitely some things to consider. I know at some point I'd want to have like a, hey, what tools as a GM should you have? And like talk about making your own DM screen or your own like digital tools to keep things straight for you. Because I think that's pretty important and nice.
yeah, and then, but even in like how we can go as in depth as people want, depending on what people reach out to us. Like I track all of my campaigns and adventure one shot. Like, so even as little as getting into that kind of stuff, like I want to get into how are we able to help people prepare for the game, track stuff, adversaries, like how do you build your encounters? Like there's tips for that in the rules, but like we've said, we've been running this for 7-8 months now. So like let's use that. But I also want to hear from other people. So we can tease. I'm sure at some point we will have some other GMs on the podcast too. Um, that way we can give as much advice as possible. I mean, I'm an else caller at heart, so I'm all about trying to get better at what I do. But I
Yeah.
joke with a lot of my friends. I'm kind of like a mix between an else caller and a stone ward. So as much as I want to help get better at what I'm doing, people and help them get better too, so we can all just carry the bridge together and definitely make sure that we're all having a blast playing this system.
Yeah. I To that point, I think we can discuss a little bit the magic of this system. You're not making a wizard. You have these very like sort of mundane physical characters, or maybe they're a mental based one, just depending on what they do. The magic is sort of a thing that you can choose to interact with how you will, and it comes later on through growth, kind of like how it does in Brandon Sanderson's work. So you actually have to meet requirements to select a radiant path later on, which is, I think, really neat. I think that's a cool way to do it.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And what's cool is like the way that the everything's talent based. Like you mentioned that earlier, we build the characters a la carte, even the magic. Like so, but the fun part about that is like the so-called mundane characters, like the hunters, like the warriors. You can play that all the way through. Like everyone always wants to play a radiant the first time because, like, come on, we've all dreamed about that since we read Way of Kings. But
Oh, absolutely.
at the same time, like a lot of my friends that I'm playing with, like a lot of you guys keep making the Radiant characters, and I'm like, how wild can I make this warrior character, or can I make this agent be able to go toe to toe with a Radiant? Like, and the way the system's built, you can feel as powerful as you want, but even those characters that don't have magical abilities, like the Adolins in the world, like you can get Shardblade, you can get a Shardblade, so like you can still interact with those magic systems and magic characters and not feel out of place and feel like you've become a background character. That's just a really cool, clever thing that they've come up with and a way to gamify that.
Oh yeah, the heroic, and we'll talk about them, but those heroic trees are so freaking cool. Uh, I think easily my favorite is the archer hunter. That
See, it's
one
so
just
funny that
like
that one's your favorite because my
it had
favorite's
so many
probably
cool things.
like and it's funny because like I always play like a paladin or I'm a warrior, but like playing the agent, like and dodging in and out, but you can do like such huge damage all at once. One of the first ones I played, like I was able to just set the right amount of actions out there, and I did just as much, if not more, damage than the warrior did in
Oh
combat.
yeah, agent's super cool too. I don't think I don't think there's a class I don't think is cool. I think there are ones that I'm less interested in. Uh, so what? We've talked briefly. We've said there's the warrior, there's the hunter, there's the agent. We
But then
have
the fun part is, and we kind of glossed over this a little bit, but like one of the things I like too that helped me learn how to GM quick was everything can be as gamified as you want it or as play friendly as you want. But there are classes like the Scholar and the Envoy where you might not necessarily be doing as much damage in a combat scenario, but they have two different systems that can be expanded on: the endeavors on the conversations, where they're an endeavor is basically, just to give a high level overview, is like I've heard CJ describe it as a montage, where it's like you've got this big thing you need to do that would take all day. Well, you don't want to role play it for an hour, so you can do an endeavor where you do a bunch of skill tests as a party to move an event along and almost. But like as a character who's an envoy can be very useful in that, and in a conversation, there's ways that NPCs can interact, resist your influence. So then there's skill test and talents that like an envoy can have to then make be more useful and able to help the party there. So there's a good balance across the party as well.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a couple things you mentioned in there. One, you said Envoy, which is one more of the, I think, 6 core paths are what we have.
Yeah,
There's
there's six
also Leader and Scholar. Uh, and those very much kind of do what you think they do. We'll do a detailed class breakdown in a future episode. But the systems of the game are very good. Montage tests, or they're called montage tests in a different game. Endeavors in CosmereRPG are very much this like harken back to what were called skill challenges in D&D 4th edition, and have sort of been revived in 5th. They're a very common thing, and I just think it's one of the best sort of shortcuts to how people actually play the game. And it's good to have rules for those things that people actually do at the table, instead of saying, yeah, you'll homebrew it and we'll leave it to you. Thank you, folks, for listening. If you want to hear more from us, find us on the socials. We have an Instagram. We have a TikTok, which won't ever get used. We have an email if you want to reach out to us. It is just complicatedopportunities@gmail.com. I think it's also complicated opportunities on Instagram. And remember, this episode was brought to you by Raid Shadow Legends. I'm kidding. It's not. We're not sponsored. We're not taking any money yet. We will tell you if we do, because we're required to. But no, Kyle, will you take us away?
Yep, and we really appreciate you guys taking the time to listen. But until then, let's roll our plot die and raise the stakes. This has been Complicated Opportunity.